RTTJ, yeah, turn it up. Let's go. Friday Night Lights, we back in the booth. Justin and Tim, yeah, we bring in the truth. It's the Friday Night Pick'em, the RTTJ way. Lacey and Lions, we predicting the play. Lock it.
Oh my goodness, guy! I totally messed that one up. You know, it's actually Wednesday night. It's not. This isn't the Pick'em show. It's just Justin and I. So I assumed, hey, this was Friday night, but it wasn't Friday. We're not there yet, Justin. My bad, everybody.
Not yet. I was jamming though.
Yeah, I saw you jamming over there. You know, it's a good little thing that I put together there. But anyways, let's get to the show's real intro. Welcome, everybody, to another Wednesday night Running Through the Jungle podcast with your boy, Justin Lacey, a.k.a. Juddy, is what I call him, and myself, Tim Lyons. You know, like I said earlier, Brandon's not here. I don't know if I said it or not, but I'm saying it now. He's got work stuff going on, so Justin and I are here filling in, doing what we do. I'm the producer tonight. Like, who the hell decided to say, Tim, you're producing this show? I don't know. I don't know if Brandon was drunk or if Justin was like, you know, had that birthday hangover going on. But he said, Tim, you're driving this shit tonight. So I was like, okay.
All right, hold on, bro. Can we talk about that intro that you accidentally played, though, man? Because I think that is the perfect cue to really tee up that is what they should be expecting for this upcoming season. That was a banger of an audio beat, bro. It was.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. You know, I've been fooling around with AI a little bit, you know, because it's part of my job, and so I've been kind of like testing out. So, like, you guys see the new background here that we have for tonight's show. It's something I created on with AI as well. You know, if I remove Justin and I, you guys can actually see the whole thing. But you know, it's just something that I was like, you know, Justin and I, we needed an intro for our Friday Night Pick'em show. You know, we needed that intro, and guess what? It came together. It came together well. Yeah, I did make some tweaks and everything, but I'll tell you this right now, it's a hell of a beat. I think it did a great job with AI and then the tweaks. But thank you, Justin. I appreciate it. But Justin, how are you doing, man? You are a year older. A year older now. Do you feel a little bit more wiser?
Man, I've always been wise. I've always been told that I had an old soul for somebody being in his early 20s during the time being. But I'm 35 years old now. I'm feeling pretty good. You know, it's really interesting because I thought when I turned 30, I thought that was going to be the age that you start to get respect as an actual adult. I thought that, like, during your 20s, I learned the hard way that if you're 20 years old, older fellas, like from the boomer generation, maybe Gen X too, they don't really respect a lot of people in their 20s. Whether if you're 21 or 29, it didn't matter because the scale is different. Now, when you're in the 20s, the 28-year-old me was not hanging out with 21-year-old people. I felt like I was way too mature from that. But I thought that when you hit 30, that was all going to just be subsided and everybody's going to look at you as a real adult. And I feel like that the older I got then and there, and as I started progressing through my 30s, that still didn't happen. I still kept getting you're still just a baby. I feel like that 35 years old, maybe the last year that I'm going to be getting oh, you're just a baby. I mean, it obviously depends on who you talk to. And, you know, as far as like how they view people from like older people that views younger generations coming up beneath them. But for the most part, man, I feel good, man. I had a great birthday weekend. One of my favorite gifts that I received outside of a lovely dinner at a steakhouse, I received a signed Jamar Chase practice jersey as a gift.
Nice.
It is fantastic. It almost looked like the
Nice.
orange and white behind you that you got signed. It looks
Yep.
very similar to that. But man, I'm just happy as all get out, man. And I'm ready to
Nice.
talk about the show tonight.
Yeah, what's funny is you're talking about my Jamar Chase autographed jersey up there. I
Hmm.
also have a Joe Burrow autographed LSU jersey as well that I haven't hung
Yeah.
up yet. I've been kind of not sure what I'm going to do here. I know, like you guys see me, I'm literally sitting in my reclining chair. I work all day long behind a computer, and I'm like, what am I going to do here? But yeah, man, it's hot. I loved it. As a Bengals fan, you know, to get our number one guy, literally our number one guy's jersey autographed. It's special to us. Like I got two of Jamar Chase's rookie cards as well,
Hmm.
autographed
Yeah.
as well, and
Yeah.
those are in my private collection. I
Hmm.
haven't gotten my Joe Burrow auto football card yet because they want thousands of dollars for it. So eventually I'll get it. But anyways, hey, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Austin Art. We got our boy Chase in there. We got
Hmm.
Afton. Afton's over here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you know what? Let's just go ahead and get into it. I might piss off some people with this whole thing here, but I don't really care. It's my personal opinion on the top 5 offenses in the AFC. In
Oh
the
boy.
AFC, not in the
Just
AFC
AFC.
North, in the
Okay.
AFC. Okay. And I know some of y'all are going to be like, oh, Tim, you're being biased, or, there's haterade in you. Why didn't our team make it? I honestly don't give a damn, to be honest with you. I don't give a damn what your feelings are about what my opinion is. And Justin and I, we pretty much, and Brandon's pretty much the same way too. We pretty much are straight shooters. We're not bloviating over here. We'll look at stuff and go, okay, X, Y, and Z, and then put our thoughts together. But let's get into it, Justin. From 5 to 1, who are your AFC best offenses in the league?
Now, before I get into my list, I just wanted to kind of share everybody that's in the chat. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll share comments on the stage for the first few minutes of the show. We'll also display comments on the stage if you're watching us on YouTube as well, too. We like the interaction. We like the engagement. So please feel free.
Yes.
Throw in your thoughts. They are going to show up here during our live stream. But as far as my list go, Tim, all right, this is a projection list. Okay, this is basically spearheaded off of what I think
Right.
I'm going to see going into this year in 2026. Not
Right.
basically basing this off of a total body of work, from a lot of these. Because if you're doing that, then it's going to be pretty much set in stone at that point. But I just
Mm-hmm.
really feel like that was important for me to give that distinction. So I'll go right into it. So number 5 for me, I actually had a tough time tossing up between either Kansas City and Jacksonville. Jacksonville did go 13-3 last year. I still feel like that they are just getting the surface scratched and getting things started with Liam Cohen, that head coach. Feels like that Trevor Lawrence is turning the corner a little bit as well too. He had a rough start to his career, and he seemed like that he's bouncing back. And they put up a lot of points last year. But overall, I think that I'm going to go with Kansas City here in this spot at number 5. And the
Okay.
reason for that being, they got Eric Bieniemy back as their offensive coordinator now. He was the offensive coordinator for during the high-flying Chief Kansas City explosive offensive years. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to deal with Matt Nagy anymore with that. He's moved on. I also feel like that the addition to Kenneth Walker, their big ticket free agent that they signed from the
Yes.
Seahawks, Super Bowl MVP Kenneth Walker at that,
Yes.
that's going to stabilize their running game, which I already liked before, but liked a little bit before, I should say. But
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Walker gives them a workhorse back to where they can truly feel confident in. And with that addition of drafting Cyrus Allen, I really like Cyrus Allen out of University of Cincinnati. I'm a homegrown UC guy, and he was one of my favorite guys to watch on that Bearcats team. He's got that quick twitch, the explosive element that he can really take the top off the defense. He got to just make it happen. Rasheed Rice is coming back. Now, people do criticize Rasheed Rice's off the field issues, and he doesn't really get as the explosive separation element like you can see with like guys like Tyreek Hill they had in the past. But honestly, I still like him as a receiver. He can still kill you in the slot. And you still got Travis Kelce there, although he is coming up there in age. And the value of Patrick Mahomes just ascends all of that as well, too. So that's what I got there at number 5. Number 4, and I'm going to be trying to be pretty quick with this here. I got Baltimore here in this spot. Now, you can make the argument that Baltimore should be higher based off of them having Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, but I left them
Right.
here because I am not too sure how that offensive line is going to pan out. there is some question marks there. They did suffer an injury to their
Big
center
injury.
in joint practice today, and he got carted off. So, but I'm not projecting that that's going to be their doom. I'm just thinking that, you know what, they're good. Jacoby Lane is stepping up in practice from all the reports that I'm hearing, the rookie receiver that they've drafted out of USC. And I really like what I'm seeing so far, hearing as far from him's perspective. But I just don't trust that they're better than the next three that I have on my list here. And number three, I actually have the New England Patriots. New England actually had the number one deep passing attack all throughout last year. And while it could have been made by way of just their schedule and what they had, a lot of quarterbacks like Joe Burrow was hurt, Lamar was hurt for quite a bit, and the Chiefs took a nosedive. And but there really wasn't much to hit your wagon on. So all they just had to do was just keep chucking the ball deep, and they found explosive plays doing that. And
Right.
it was with the cast of receivers that, well, not a lot of people knew about for real. They kind of surprised people. Well, now with the addition of trading for A.J. Brown, they added Romeo Doubs on top of what they already had as well too. Still like their rushing game as well too, man. So, and Drake May, he can still ascend as a passer in this league, and I'm really intrigued to see how they're going to be able to rebound in going into this year 3 Drake May iteration or year 2 of Mike Vrabel in the New England Patriots offense. But do I trust them over the top two? And the top two I have is Bills at number 2 and the Bengals at number 1. Just kind of go into that. For the Bills, they have the ability to be the number 1 offense in football again too. Josh Allen, James Cook, they are basically the Russian attack. And I like Ray Davis as their backup. DJ Moore is awesome. I always liked DJ Moore, big fan of him. They traded for him. They're looking like they're trying to redecorate the receiving room by adding him. You have Khalil Shakur, who, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated guys. And I think Khalil Shakur along with DJ Moore, can create a somewhat of a dynamic passing attack that won't get talked about until we're later in the season. And now we're talking about, oh, we should have talked about this duo earlier in the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense to you? So
Yeah.
that's why I have them. And their tight ends are still good. You still got Dalton Kincaid, who I really liked coming out. You still got Dawson Knox. They can feature them as a game plan by itself, and they can still make haymakers with it. So that's why I have them number 2. But number 1 is the Cincinnati Bengals. And it may come off as biased, being that this is a Bengals show, but I do not care that it comes off biased to you. I have the Bengals at number 1 simply because Joe Burrow is one of the most prolific passers in the league, not even just currently right now, but he's trending on a pattern of being one of the most prolific passers of all time. And Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the league. T. Higgins is the best number 2 receiver in the league, and you can kind of classify him as a 1A. And the offense continues to get better. And we're going to talk about it throughout the rest of training camp and talking about with preseasons and whatnot. The explosive element of offense, they can find different ways to kill you, whether if it's the Russian attack, which we know that they should be able to use more, whether if it's plays in the shotgun or under center. They're working through some of those things right now in practice as we speak right now. But overall, I just feel like that the evolution of the Bengals offense is on par, about to take that next explosive step. And they've been trying to figure out ways to try to beat Jamar and T and Joe, and they haven't really done that yet. So and I think that this is the year that the Bengals can actually do it in 2026.
Yeah, I like your list. Your list is pretty close to mine, minus a team. So I got number 5. Of course, I got Kansas City Chiefs. It's Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is coming back, and then they added, like you said, they added Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker coming from the Super Bowl reigning Seahawks. We've seen what he did last year. We've seen what he can do. We've seen what he did during the Super Bowl. He carried that team really to that Super Bowl championship, on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not going to say that, I'm just not saying it all in general, but, he carried that offense. At number 4, I have the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, Lamar Jackson's coming back, new coaches, but of course they got Lamar Jackson back. They got Derrick Henry back. They got Zay Flowers. My concern is their offensive line right now. Is their offensive line going to be as solid as it's been in the years past? I don't know. Even with the addition of the injury that just happened today during joint practice, I don't know how severe it is, but I know he was carted off. They had him in a leg brace and all that stuff. So who knows? They lost their all-pro center in Tyler Linderbaum, and that was huge. I was like, what are they doing? What are they doing over in Baltimore? But, like I said, we got Lamar Jackson coming back, Derrick Henry, and I love running the damn ball. I still think Derrick Henry is going to put up 1,000 yards. There's no doubt in my mind he will put up 1,000 yards this year. I know he's getting a little bit long in the tooth, but it's Derrick freaking Henry. His name's not King Henry for no reason. But anyways, at number 3, now there's a reason why, and you guys nobody might even agree with me on this, and I honestly don't even really care. At number 3, I have the Denver Broncos. I think that's one thing that Justin and I had differently was the Denver Broncos is who I have at number 3. Why do I have them at number 3? Well, you got Bo Nix returning. They added Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins, Cortland Sutton. They returned all 5 starters from their offensive line from last year. If that doesn't earn them a 3rd ranked in the AFC for offenses, then I don't know what will. Bo Nix. Can we see what Bo Nix did last year, this year? I think there's a chance that he's going to get, he's going to be better. He's not going to have a slump this year. With that addition of Waddle coming in there, dude, that gives him another weapon to throw to just besides Sutton, which is sad for me because I usually draft Sutton in my fantasy football team. Now I have Sutton and there's Waddle on the field for the Broncos. So now I got to choose. Who am I going to draft in the fantasy draft? Am I going to go for Cortland Sutton, or am I going to go for Waddle? Or am I going to try to stack both of those dudes? But anyways, at number 2, I have the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, go ahead. And number 1, of course, I have the Cincinnati Bengals. Buffalo Bills, they added DJ Moore, gave Josh Allen someone else to throw to, a reliable wide receiver 1 to stretch the field, to be able to give not just Josh Allen the ability to run, but also James Cook. But the only fear that I have for James Cook is can he hold on to the ball when the time matters? He had some fumbling issues last year. So that's my question mark. That's the reason why, and honestly, that's the reason why they're not number 1 in my book, because of the ball security issue with James Cook. And at number 1, let's be real here. I'm going with the Cincinnati freaking Bengals. We got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe freaking Burrow. We got our same returning 5 offensive line. And I know some of y'all haters are probably going to be like, oh, your guys' offensive line is garbage, but we'll address that here in a little bit. Justin, I'm sure he has some opinions, but we'll address that here in a little bit. But it's the Cincinnati Bengals. Look what they're doing. If, and I'm hoping, and I'm going to be a big if Joe Burrow stays healthy for the whole entire season, watch out. Watch out, AFC. Watch out, NFC. This team is going to cook. They're cooking with grease, and there might be a grease fire at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going definitely Cincinnati Bengals is number 1. Call me biased. Go ahead. I'll take it. I'll just take it. I'll take it on my chin and move on. And the thing is I won't even remember it tomorrow. But what do you got to say, Justin?
Let's talk about our 2 differences that we became split on. So you obviously had the Broncos and I had the Patriots, both ironically in similar spots coming in at number 3 on these lists here. Mm-hmm. I'm not upset about the Broncos on this list. Between Denver and New England, both of them, I just hesitate putting both of them into the top 5 list because I do expect one of these 2 teams to regress. It can be New England and it can be Denver.
It could be.
I just don't know who. Is New England going to get bit in the butt by the easy schedule alert like they had last year? They could. Right. Is the Denver Broncos, is Bo Nix going to play like he did before? Come on, like he suffered a bad injury at a bad time in the playoffs before the AFC Championship game. Now there's argument that if he would have played in that game, could they have possibly won that game? It's right and fair to say yes, they could have won that game because New England didn't do anything to impress neither. But overall, bigger picture, I feel like when I look at the landscape of the quarterbacking in the AFC and the conference, it still comes down to the core 4. And that's Joe, Lamar, Patrick, and Josh. Rank them how you wear. This is not a waking quarterback list, but those are still the 4. And I am sandwiching one of those 2, Denver and New England, into this list just because I do respect what they did last year, and they haven't really taken a steep drop off, but it's just a projection that it's not always going to be as favorable as what it seems. And both of
Right.
them got a first place schedule this time around. So
Right.
that's why I hesitated. But yeah, they're still really good offenses. You can make an argument case that a lot of these offenses here are really potent enough that they can be top NFL quality. And that's even if you include the NFC. So that's all I
Yeah.
had to say about that. I feel like that both the lists is really kind of the same.
Yeah.
Guys, feel free to give us your opinions and your thoughts. Austin knows I know you've been kind of making your list your list in the comment section, just talk about and all that stuff. But nonetheless, we always appreciate the engagement. But Tim, where you want to go from here? Do you want to? It's 20 minutes in the show. What do you want to do? Do you want to take a quick break before we come back,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be right back with you guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Running Through the Jungle with your hosts Justin Lacey and Tim Lyons. We just got done talking about our AFC top 5 offenses. Pretty good discussion. Justin, you mentioned the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just real quick, a little bit of dish because I was thinking about this. The Jacksonville Jaguars could really find them up in that list. That top 5 list at the end of the year. And I agree. And I agree with you. I do. I agree with you. But it was just the thing was this for me is the biggest reason why I put Denver up there is because of their returning starting 5 on that line. That's the biggest reason, and then additional of Waddle. But but I can but I feel you, man. I do, and I'm sure our friend of the show, John Otto, the drummer from Limp Bizkit, will probably think the same thing of Tim. Why didn't you guys put the Jacksonville Jaguars in the top 5? Well, Sunshine has a little bit more to prove for me personally. Like I've never been a big Trevor Lawrence fan. He plays good ball, but then he chokes when it comes to in the playoffs and stuff, and makes mistakes. But maybe he's a different man this year. Who knows? We'll see. This is our preseason top 5. So,
but also too, one thing about Jacksonville, again, this is why I had a tough time with this. Really, is because Kansas City's offense didn't really look good for the past 3 years.
You're
but
right.
Jacksonville last year they have, and they beat Kansas City by playing offense really. And I really like the running game with Bishaw Tootin now taking the snaps, the carrying snaps. They don't have Travis Etienne anymore, and I don't think they really need them. And I just feel like that they can become explosive at any given moment. So yes, while this is still it's still like a warning sign that is next to the playoff label thing, I get that. But a lot of guys got to prove it in the playoffs. We talk about Lamar's playoff record all the time. Buffalo, they can't get past round 2, or they can't beat Kansas City, and it happens. The Chargers, we haven't mentioned the Chargers. They can't they can't win in the playoffs, but they're also more of a running team first than these days. So I really hesitated putting them into this list in this conversation, even though I know Justin Herbert's a really good quarterback and all. I just don't know if they have the makings to be able to enter into a top 5 list of offensive firepower like I do with the other guys. And lastly, I'll just say this. Do not sleep on the Tennessee Titans. Now, I understand that's going to be a weird kind of like shock me moment because the Titans were coming off basically being one of the worst teams in football. But I really think that we should be expecting a year 2 jump out of this Cam Ward, Carnell Tate, Titans team, and they might be fun to watch. Is it top 5 quality? I'm not ready to put them anywhere there yet, but they're a team that you can somewhat pay attention to see how they do going into year 2 of Cam Ward.
Yeah, and Cam Ward's got a lot to prove. He really does, and it doesn't help that his coaching down there was not the best, and and all that stuff. But I don't know, man. Like it's hard to put the I about called them San Diego Chargers. It's hard to put the Chargers in there at top 5 with, we got Justin Herbert. Okay, but what else do you got? Their wide receivers. Their wide receivers are not good. They haven't been good. Keenan Allen just said, "Screw you, Chargers," and went and signed with the Colts. So, but it's hard. It's really hard to put the Chargers up there. Now, Tennessee wise, the Titans. it'll be a fun team to watch when our Bengals aren't on the TV. And I agree with you. It'll be a fun team to watch.
The AFC South has some potential overall. Like we did mention the Indianapolis closer to Houston Texans, but that
Right.
whole division, they have some potential overall. And honestly, I can say the same thing as I said about the Titans. I can say the same thing about the Raiders too. Fernando Mendoza looks solid in his preseason outing, and I feel like that. Well, I'm not really kind of ready to play, put him on a pedestal and is going into his rookie year. I liked what I saw. But again,
Yeah.
these are well-established offenses. You can make a case for a lot of different teams in this conference, but overall, I feel pretty good about my list. Yes, I know there was a comment about the New England Patriots. They have an okay offense and whatnot. Look, this is not about the expectation for the Patriots getting back to the Super Bowl. I also know that was also part of that chat in there, but this is more so about like, how do they look? Do you think that they can actually keep it going? And do they
Yeah.
projectly? And I think that they can do it going into this year more so than other years. Are they a regression candidate? Yes. Jacksonville is also a regression candidate, as what
Mhm.
Chase Young said in the comment too. Yes. Denver to me, yes. It's a lot of things. I'm sorry, but you still got Patrick Mahomes in that division. That's why I didn't want to put either New England and Denver in this list because they still have all-star QBs within that division that they have to be able to contend with still going
Right.
into next season. And both of them going to have something to say about it. Just like the Bengals and Lamar Jackson for a while earlier on in Joe Burrow's career, he still had to be able to contend with Lamar Jackson. That was still the big dog until he had to go out there and prove it and win it. And he did. So
Yep.
again, a lot of great conversation overall, but I think we can put a pin in this because we do got some football to talk about coming up, Tim. What do you think?
Yeah. Just real quick. Let's go ahead and get into it. Uh Bengals versus the Lions. Bengals came into Detroit or excuse me, the Lions came into Cincinnati and it was a big old slobber knocker of the big 16-14 game. It's preseason. It's like overhyped practice is what it is, just to see what we can see from our young guys. And of course, Joe Burrow was out there on the field, and yeah. So I want to talk about that, Justin. Joe Burrow was
Yeah.
on the field. He got sacked, and
Mm-hmm.
the national media is going batshit freaking crazy about it, Justin. Batshit crazy.
Mm.
Now, one thing I want to say before I let you go ahead and tell me what you think.
Mm-hmm.
But the one time Joe Burrow got sacked, I literally watched the clip 5, 6, 7 times and counted 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and then 4 1,000 he was sacked. Every time I did that, from the hike of the ball until Joe Burrow was sacked, he had at least 3.5 seconds to throw the football. Am I going to blame the offensive line on that? Hell no. Joe Burrow held onto the ball too long, like he likes to do. Now he likes to do this. He likes to try to get a play to start up and and throw it to Jamar Chase or whoever. He tries to create these plays, but then Joe Flacco, the old man's out there, didn't get touched at all, throwing balls away, throwing them in the dirt, whatever. Joe Burrow needs to learn to do that because that is crucial. When that line breaks down, when that pocket breaks down, you have one or two choices: get killed or throw the ball away before it happens. But Justin, like I said, the national media is going batshit crazy. What are you thinking about all this?
I think the media is just trying to look for something that's, just to pinpoint if it doesn't go well for the Bengals this year. And
Right.
it's the easy stone to turn in is that, well, the Bengals still can't protect Joe. I mean, in the essence of the sack, okay, it's a sack. I've never seen a much overzealous and overblown predicament and prognostication over just one play. Josh Allen got sacked twice, almost 3 times. And honestly, one of them got wiped out by a penalty that really shouldn't even been a penalty, but it was what it was. And the Bills offense sputtered a little bit, but they also put up quite a bit of points, even when their backups got in there in the game and whatnot. But Josh Allen didn't look that great either. And so, but yet nobody wants to talk about the 2 sacks that the Bills had when their offensive line was like literally turnstiles. And so I just feel like it is just, and some of them the protection was holding up too. And Josh Allen was trying to make bigger. He was trying to make a more extended play, try to play Josh Allen like he usually does.
Yeah.
And pressure got to him as well too with that. I remember there was one for Jalen Phillips, but nonetheless, though, man, I think that it's just something that the national media is just kind of like griping at straws at this point. when it comes to talking about the Bengals, and the overzealous narrative of the Bengals still can't protect Burrow in preseason action is just really overblown. It's lazy. It's something that they can cling on. But talking about the sack in general right now, the Bengals did protect Joe. Joe just held on to the ball too long.
Yep.
But when you look and dive deep into the film, and I'm going to shout out Bengals fans, Mike Santagana, who also hosts other shows, and he's also other things as being very analytical. He broke down the route concepts in that very same play. And what did you see? You saw damn near every receiver venture off and go to the right, where Burrow was hoping somebody was going to clear out and then go left. And if Jamar or mainly Jamar would have went left instead of going right, then it was a house call. And I think that was
Right.
what Burrow was hoping and waiting for. And that's why he did that hitch giddy up and hoping to just let it cut loose. But when that didn't happen, what did he do? He would have just ate it, just like in any other game. If it's
Yep.
not there, instead of just trying to throw it away, it's tough, man. But I get why. I understand why it happened the way that it did. But do you get nervous? No. I mean, yeah, a little bit. But but you're doing that based off of Joe Burrow's injury history. If Joe Burrow didn't have the injury history that he does right now,
Nobody would bat
would
it
we
an
be
eye.
talking about this? This wouldn't
No.
even be a subject. Just like it's
Mm-mm.
not even a subject or a talking point with the Bills right now.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm eliminating all thoughts and confusion and narratives about that. But yeah, I mean, also too, the Bengals they didn't do that bad. I mean, sure, you would have loved for them to look perfect, picture perfect on offense the first two drives that Burrow was out there,
Right.
but you know what? They were running things that they were already working on while they're this that's what you want them to do. So
Mhm.
I rest my case on that, but I'll let you get to the next question or so.
So, we saw that we had some of our rookies in there on the
Mhm.
defense side of the ball. They had Cassius Howell in there. Landon Robinson was in there. Davis wasn't there. He was actually not on the. He was not actually in the game on Thursday. But what is your opinion on the depth from what you've seen from these rookies, and just not just the rookies but the backups as well for that defensive line? Like, what are you seeing? Are you like, man, this is the best depth that the Bengals have had? And man, how many years have we? I can't recall the last time we had this much depth on defense, and specifically the defensive line. Like, how are you feeling about the defensive line?
Well, I can recall the last time I seen depth on this defensive line. It was 2013, and that was during that preseason action. I feel like that dude, the pass rush just kept coming. And even in 2015, they weren't as deep as they were in 2013. And it's set up to be one of the better seasons in Bengals history that nobody really talks about anymore because
Right.
it ended in another playoff loss during that stretch of 5 straight playoff appearances, and we lost that game. But I'll answer the question in multiple different parts. Let's start with the rookies because you had told me you first brought up the rookies.
Right.
I really like what I saw from them as far as like the defensive line goes. I feel like yes, the depth really got tested. The quality of depth really got tested. Um, Landon Johnson, he is absolutely standing out. I'm sorry, Landon Robinson. He has
Robinson.
absolutely stood out, and he is making plays. He's all over the place. He's stuffing runs. He's getting pressure on quarterbacks. Albeit it is against backups. Well, he's a 7th round pick too, so he's a part of that, and he's really showing that he's doing whatever it takes to make this team. And I feel like that he can do it. Cassius Howe, the ghost, the ghost spin move that he is known for coming out of college is you can
Yeah.
see that it's kind of translating to the NFL a little bit. He was the reason that Chris Jenkins was able to get a sack, and he should
Hmm.
get credit for that sack. I saw that, but I don't think he's going to. But at least give him a half a sack because if Chris Jenkins wasn't there, he was going to get taken to the ground anyways because Cassius Howe was there in a flash.
Right.
And it's impressive to watch. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm glad the Bengals allocated a draft pick resource to get that guy. So to make
Mhm.
us feel good about the waves of pass rush that we're seeing. But I did mention Chris Jenkins. He's looked solid. I think the depth on the defensive line, it makes you feel good because Dexter Lawrence only played 3 snaps.
Right.
Jonathan Allen only played 3 snaps. You don't really need to see a whole lot of snaps from those guys because we know what they can do. We just need to see them get their feet wet. But these young guys that's behind them, they got to show what they need to do. McKinley Jackson got to still step up. But I am impressed that we saw Chris Jenkins become a force and play almost like a men amongst boys
Yeah.
regarding third stringers, fourth stringers, and then you see McKinley, or you see Chris Jenkins out here just taking people's heads off. And that's what you want to
Yeah.
see, because you did spend the second round pick on him. So you don't want to give up on him. And so, and lastly, I don't really care too much about like the rookies on defense too much. I just like that they still got a lot to prove. That is an overall takeaway that I'm
Right.
saying with regarding the defense as a whole. They still have plenty to prove. The first
Mhm.
couple of drives when some of the starters did play, they looked kind of like bend but don't break defense out there. And that's not going to be the case. That should not be the case that's going to hold up anymore. There are moments and there are times where you definitely need to show up, where you're going to get your defense and your depth tested a little bit, going against more potent offenses. But
Mhm.
you were going against the Lions that didn't play anybody. And that,
Right.
I'm not expecting you to be the 2000 Ravens defense in a preseason game, but I am expecting you to show up and actually make it tougher on them to get yards. And they did that. I think that they
Right.
did exactly that. So it's still preseason football. It's the first game action, but it definitely left me feeling a little bit better. And how about Russ Yeast, man? Closing out the game with a pick where it was
Little
like,
pick.
man, this could have been easily pass the ball down the field, get in field goal range. And we've seen it too many times where this defense is going to just let them walk down the field and get a field goal. Russ
Yep.
Yeast, man, practice squatter, guy that nobody who even knows, and he ends up sealing the game with an interception, man. That was nice.
Yeah. Well, I got one more thing that I want to talk about for this Bengals and Lions game. Just one more. So
Okay,
last
let's go.
Wednesday, was it last Wednesday that we were on? No, it was the
Probably.
Wednesday
I mean,
before. Oh no, last Wednesday I did it solo, so it was the Wednesday before that. Remember, I mentioned the whole fact of is Charlie Jones's is his job secure?
mm-hmm.
Is his job secure?
Okay.
Now we have a story. Now we have a story going on right now in this preseason. It's a story. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those. It could be a movie. It could end up being a movie. Dante Myers comes out of, paying $100 to try out for the Saskatchewan Scallywags, or wherever the hell they were called, and
Yeah.
next you know he finds himself as an undrafted free agent, and the Bengals pick him up, and you know like I said, the last time that we all were on, I mentioned, I said, Charlie Jones, like I could literally see Charlie Jones losing his job because Dante Myers, he's got the speed. He's running nice routes. And I know he's playing against, second, third, fourth string corners or whatever the hell it was. But he's looking great during this offseason. Justin, what do you really feel? Do you really think that Charlie Jones's job's secure?
That's a good question. Because
8 or 9 receptions in the 3 or 4 years that we've had him now?
yeah, I know. And that's what we talked about last time. That it's really pathetic numbers and stats for the start of his career. It's not promising at all.
Right.
On one hand, I want to say, yes, he should be worried that he may lose his job because other guys are truly performing like they truly desperately want this opportunity. And
Mm-hmm.
then you got a guy like Charlie Jones where he's not looking bad, but he's just not standing out.
He's just
And
not looking good.
sometimes not standing out can be a good thing, but that's in the situation where you're in the mix of having guys that you truly just don't know what you're going to get. And you hope that the depths can be good. But I feel like that I'm in the point now where the Bengals are teetering on, look, Charlie Jones, you have opportunity still, but these guys are coming for you and they are looking hungrier as ever to the
Mm-hmm.
point where we may have to make a tough decision on you and have to let you go. Hopefully, bring you back to the practice squad if if that's available. But if not, it is what it is. He was a fourth round draft pick. I'm not looking at it as a draft bust or a draft whiff or whatever. I think that
Right.
look, they wanted to take a chance on him. Yoshi was a 6th round pick, and we've heard a lot of criticism over his career, but he was a 6th round pick. He's performed admirably. But the receiving room as a whole is playing out exactly how I hoped it to be. I never trusted Charlie Jones and Yoshi to be my automatic 3 and 4. I never trusted
Right.
that. I needed
Right.
to see people push them to make them better or get out their way because
Yep.
there's guys that are coming up and that you may have to get out their way. B. Derek called it on the show a couple of weeks ago with Dante Myers because he has been a guy that he talked about as let's pay attention to this dude. He's been more intrigued. and he has done nothing but impress. And
Mhm.
he kind of has that element of that quick shiftiness at the receiver position that I feel like they can complement Jamar and T perfectly. Like, I
Yep.
need to see the next element of the explosion in this offense that doesn't always just have to come by those two guys. Dante Myers looked like he can do that. I need to see a possession guy who is a big body that can get that has hands for days, that can just be somebody that you can rely upon when it's third and short or third and long, and you know you're passing the ball. Jamar and Teague has bracket coverages everywhere. I think Kobe Young could potentially be that guy.
Yep.
And it's something like that where it just makes you feel good about the direction of where this wide receiving core is headed. And that doesn't bode well for Charlie Jones in that regard because they've tried to use him in those lights and it hasn't worked out. But right
Yeah.
now, his value right now stands as simply I'm a special teams returner. And until somebody knocks me off of that spot, he still got a place on this team for now.
Yep. I agree. 100%. Yeah, it's just been like I'm like struggling here. Like, what do the Bengals do with Yoshi? What do they do with Charlie Jones? You know, they got Dante and Meyer. You got Colby Young that they just drafted. You know, if those two guys, if Myers keeps stepping up and Colby Young keeps making progress, we could have some wide receivers possibly without jobs. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so and I agree with you. But anyways, so this Saturday, isn't it? I think it's Saturday. Yeah,
Yeah, this Saturday.
Saturday. This Saturday, the Bengals are playing the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears. Now, I know I'm asking you what's your I'm gonna ask you what your expectations is for this game. But real quick, you know, it's like I understand that it's all preseason. You know, we're all looking. Just be aware, everybody that who's listening in here, that we're really looking at groups. We're looking at certain rooms, how they're doing, how they're playing, so that when we say expectations, I'm not going to expect us to go out there and roll over on the Bears. No way in hell. All I'm looking at is how these certain players are actually going to play. Now, Justin, before I ask you this question, my expectation for this Cincinnati Bengals team on Saturday is the offensive line makes holes for the run game, and Taj Brooks actually does something.
Okay.
Last Thursday, Taj Brooks struggled, man. He struggled.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it was totally all on him. The offensive line needs to make holes for him to go through and so on and so forth. But he had a fumble and it was just a big old hot mess. And I think he only averaged like 1.2 yards a carry or whatever it was. It was bad. So that's what my key expectation is for this Cincinnati versus the Bears. And then of course, I want to see how the depth keeps going with the defense. And even when it comes to hopefully Davis is out there for corner against the Bears, so maybe we can see a little bit of him out there. But that's like my biggest expectation is that offensive line making holes. Can the run game get started? Can they protect them long enough to where Taj or Samaje can get out there and get a swing pass or whatever, get some extra yards? It's pretty simple for me. But Justin, what
Okay.
do you got for this Bears and Bengals matchup on Saturday?
I'll start off with the defense. I need to see them step up and perform against another team's first string offense. That's number one. These guys are going to meet for joint practice on Thursday. And this week is going to be one of the tougher weeks in training camp for both teams, actually, just because
Yeah.
after this week of preseason action is done, then you're getting into a much more of a lighter week where the starters are not really playing in a final preseason game unless you got guys that's in like a quarterback competition and whatnot on certain teams. But for the most
Right.
part, everybody knows the directions of where they're going to be headed with the start of the regular season, and they're going to be tinkering game plans for week one. So that's why next week is going to be more of a lighter week. This is the week where this is really your final chance to really take the opportunities and maximize them to the highest degree. And the joint practice this Thursday is going to be an opportunity where the defense has been stepping up against this Bengals offense. Now it's really been the defense's time to shine. How they've been wrecking havoc and making life miserable for the Bengals offense in training camp practices. Now, I'm not going to overreact to the training camp practices, but that does make me feel pretty good about where the direction is headed for the defense overall. There seem to be some real dudes on here now, and that makes us feel good as a fan base because we haven't felt good on the multi-layered surface level regarding this defense in a long time. But
Right.
I need to see it against another team now, not just practice. Don't I don't know who said this in their locker room news press conference or whatever when they were in the locker room talking to one of the media members, but I think it was Boye Mafe, and it was one of the best quoted lines that he said. And I'm gonna say it on this show and give him credit, obviously, for it. Don't mistake activity as a means to the reward. Don't be celebrating things that you should already be doing when you're practicing. You celebrate when it's actually live reps, bullets happening, when you are
Hmm.
making those plays in real games, when you're making big time moments and stops and getting W's. That's what he means by stuff like that. And I don't want to, and I'm paraphrasing that exact words in that soundbite there, but it was one of the best things that I heard. But I need to see the defense perform at a reasonable expected level against the Chicago Bears. I'm not saying you got to go out there and dominate them, but I need
Right.
to see marketable improvement this season, this time around. Last year, these two teams met against each other in joint practice too. And it sounded like Ben Johnson was going to have his way with the linebackers. If you want to feel good about the linebackers this season, all right, Barrett Carter, all right, Demetrius Knight, y'all need to show them that 11 months ago, nah, we ain't about that no more. You got a different version of us. I need to see that. I need to see the D line be able to continue wreaking havoc on Caleb Williams' newly rebuilt offensive line that allowed the Chicago Bears to have a turnaround season last year. And they're
Hmm.
actually pegged as one of the favorites in the NFC this year. I need to see this newly rebuilt defensive line really come to form here in practice, in training camp, in preseason. I need to see that. And on offense, I need you to commit to running the ball better. You're still
Yep.
working on these under center play action things, but it only works heavily when you are running the ball effectively. And we know that Chase Brown is a good runner, but I do not trust the depth behind him. You already mentioned Taj Brooks. I also just do not trust the depth on with even with Samaje Perine right now. But Joe Burrow got to be able to be more explosive under center against. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself against another team because he hasn't been able to find great. He hasn't been able to find a great nucleus of magic against our own defense, and that could be a good thing, but also that can make a little bit of a worry. And lastly, I just need offensive line to protect the more specifically the tackles, not so much Amarius Mills. I like Amarius Mills, but Orlando Brown Jr. I don't need you to be turning styles no more. Okay. All right. Again, one of the worries that the fan base is really clamoring over is the immediate rush that he had against a backup defensive lineman, an edge rusher that just came in and just hit Joe Burrow, just smacked him. Even though Burrow got the ball away and it was an incomplete pass, but had Burrow had a little more time, he probably would have completed that throw. But whatever. That don't need to be happening. Now, you lose some reps, you win some reps, but you got to be more winning those reps than losing them. And it seems like that Orlando Brown Jr. is starting to kind of fade to the point where fans are now worried, what are we going to do about left tackle in the backup situation there? Because there's really not another answer. It's not Cody Ford. They've been repping Jalen Rivers at tackle with the twos and stuff. And that's just not really good. That's not really good solutions there. But this is the squad that you're rocking with right now. This honestly, it's too late to try to make a massive move right now just because you're unsure that Orlando Brown can actually produce right now going into this upcoming season. I feel like that is still too early to overreact, but I got my eye on him. That's the thing. So that's really the last bit that a piece that I have. Actually, no, I lied. The last bit of piece that I have is Zach Taylor. I need to see more evolution in your situational coaching. I am intrigued to see how Dan Pitcher calls plays in this upcoming preseason game. I don't know if fans knew that, but it was expected that Dan Pitcher will be calling the plays in this upcoming preseason game. Give him those reps because he's trying to search for a new head coaching gig next year and whatnot. So, but you got to start
Hmm.
those reps early. Okay, Zach, that's going to be off your plate for this game. But I need you to get better with your situational and game management. So you've been repping these 4-minute offices and you're still settling for field goals. You're still settling for 3 and outs. And he's also with your starters in practice, too, by the way. I need to see that get better. And again, we got plenty of time, but the season starts in a few weeks. So you got to get better quick. Okay. Otherwise, your problems are going to be permanent and you're going to have to deal with them the rest of the way. That was a lot there.
Yeah, but you hit it right on the head. There's a lot of stuff that that I don't want to just sit here and spew for 5 minutes, and I want to make sure that you get your stuff in because you think differently than I do, and that's the whole point of this show. But you were right on the head. You hit it right on the head, man. What we need to really see, and the Zach Taylor thing, I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you, but that was a hell of a point, man. I agree with you 110%. We need to see Zach Taylor do something differently, definitely when it comes to play calling. And preseason is the time to do it, whether if they're playing off of a generic spreadsheet or the actual, playbook that we're going to run in the season or not. Zach Taylor needs to really step the hell up because that's been one of our biggest complaints is when we're up, Zach Taylor does this, and next we're playing from behind again, some kind of bullshit like that. But I agree with you 110%.
Yeah.
But hey, it's been a great show.
It has been.
It's been fun, and I always love having, Justin's a Rolodex. He's a Rolodex of information. Like, he brought up that 2014, 2015, stat line about the defense, and and then he kind of makes me go, oh yeah, that's right, it did happen, because I can't remember everything. And going back to the beginning of the show when it says Justin just turned 35, my ass is about to turn 50. So, my memory's not all there. But Justin, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, you know what? You teed it up by accident in the beginning of the show, and that's going to be my final thought. Look, man, we're going to have fun this football season with our Pick'em show, man. Just be in tune to that, man. Other than that, I thank you all for whether if you joined us in on the live or you're going to listen to later on the playback. We just still appreciate you guys. Again, like, subscribe, share us, ding that notification bell so you know that we coming. But man, I really appreciate everything and all of the new subscribers that we received too over the last several weeks as well too, man. It just tells that we're doing something right, man.
Yeah, that's one thing that we're really trying to focus on here at Running Through the Jungle is to be consistent, bringing out content. You'll catch Justin and I on Fridays with our Running Through the Jungle NFL Pick'em show, coming in with that hot ass track in the very beginning, and then we'll end it, and then you guys can just have it in your head after the show's over with and be like, oh damn. But we really truly appreciate you all. Just make sure that you share us with your friends. Like, share us with your friends. Hit that when you guys see me share it online, or you see that the alert comes through YouTube saying, hey, Running Through Jungle's getting ready to go live here in 30 minutes. Hit that share button, please. We want to continuously to grow. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm gonna be 100% with you guys. We don't get paid to do this. We don't get paid. We do this because of the love of the game and the love of our team. And I know a lot of people a lot of my friends and family have came to me going, Tim, nobody wants to listen to just Cincinnati Bengals stuff. Well, unfortunately, when it comes to game days, we're going to talk about Cincinnati Bengals and then the other team. Or if it's after the game, we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals and what we could have done right or could have done wrong or what we did wrong. Unfortunately, you're going to hear that. But you got Friday night show with Justin and I on our NFL Pick'em show. We're going to talk about the entire NFL, not just Cincinnati Bengals, all 32 teams who are playing weeks 1 through 18 through the playoffs to the Super Bowl. Let's see if we can get hot like we did last year, Justin. We actually said in what was it, week 10, 11, whatever the hell it was, whoever was going to win out of the Seahawks and the Rams were going to win the Super Bowl. And guess what? Dang it, we were right. So anyways, come check us out on Friday nights at it'll probably be between 3 and 3:30. Oh, I'm sorry, 6 or 6:30 Eastern time. And then go check out our boy Brandon over there on the Know-It-Alls with the homies. He had the AFC North show that he does with our boy Pay from Frustrated Chicago Sports and Tate Boy Fresh from the Know-It-Alls, of course. And go check them out too. They cover the entire AFC North, and then bullshit about other stuff as well. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, share with your friends, hit that damn like button, and we will see you guys next Wednesday as we're running through the jungle.